This is Kelly Roach, and you are listening to the Success is a Choice podcast with Jamy Bechler. Now let's get down to business.
Providing insights to help you grow your business, improve yourself, and add value to those around you. You're listening to the Success is a Choice podcast, where you get a peek into the lives of industry leaders as they share their stories with you.
Welcome to Success is a Choice podcast. I'm your host, Jamy Bechler, and today we get to talk with a busy man in the music world. Tracy Randall is a Grammy-nominated songwriter, entertainment attorney, producer, recording artist, and the head of Lavish Records. He's worked with artists such as Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, and Lil Wayne. Not only does he have his law degree, but Tracy has a doctorate from UCLA in international business and marketing. Oh yeah, he's also a cancer survivor. Tracy has a great story, and we look forward to chatting with him today. So Tracy, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brother Jamie. I laugh a lot, so forgive me.
Brother Jamie, I'm fine with that. Let's. I want to just dive into this because this is I think you have a great story, and you were diagnosed with cancer and given 6 months to live, and those 6 months have turned into 10 years. As of this recording,
yeah.
You know, what a blessing. When you were diagnosed, what was your perspective on it, and how did you kind of deal with that? Because I'm sure that was not at all the news that you wanted to hear.
Well, I'm going to bring forth the traumatic experience for me was when the oncologist told me, you know, you have 36 months to live, get your affairs in order. And in the middle of the shock, he just handed a box of tissue on my lap and he walks out. So I guess that traumatic experience all within itself, it wasn't are you okay? Do you have someone here with you that could take you home? None of those things. But I would say I felt, I can't say lost, but I felt like I was in a really bad dream, but I knew I was awake, if that makes any sense. And the immediate reaction was, okay, children, family, da-da-da, did I do this, did I do that? I didn't go into fear mode. I just actually, I guess as a business person, went into a more practical mode that if this is the path given, that I take care of the proper steps that was needed to be done if in the event this was my true reality.
So through the years, you know, being able to battle cancer, overcome it to a degree, you know, how have you been able to use this through the years being a cancer survivor?
Well, there are two phases, well, actually 3 phases in my life that transpired because I went into remission in 2013. And I don't think a lot of people really knew that. And then in 2015, June 5th of 2015, the leukemia came back. But during that time, it came back with tumors in my head and tumors in my lungs and tumor in my left thigh. And so there was a lot of things that transpired during that course. And my white blood cell count was at 6. And I found it to be ironic because it was the 6th month of the year, and the white blood cells were at number 6. The lowest it should have been in a human living body was 200. So during both of those processes, and throughout the entire, I would say, the tour, and that's what I like to call it because I looked at cancer as an evil roommate that I couldn't evict. Mm-hmm. I know my sense of thinking is kind of off, but that was my process of dealing with the entire situation. But to be frank with you, the first time that I was diagnosed, I went with the treatments out of fear, forcing myself to do things that were not good for my body, like the chemotherapy, the radiation, and, you know, just all of those things that were not good for my body. But because I wasn't aware of the various technology that was available to me, I didn't try those. But the second time around, it was totally different. I went and sought a psychologist for the mind, a psychiatrist, a dietitian, all of those different things. And I never really focused on the cancer. Of course I did, but not as much as all the other aspects of my humanistic and spiritual well-being. And so I'm proud to say that I received my NAD report this past September, and I am, which no evidence of the disease. Now I have to stay this way for 4 years and 9 months, and I will be totally in remission. So, to answer your question as honest and brutally honest as I possibly can, how can I put it? I never really was afraid to die, if that makes any sense. I just did not want to not be self-sufficient. I wanted to be able to take my own showers. I wanted to be able to feed myself. I wanted to be able to walk. I think that vanity kind of set in. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but that was what my fight was. I just didn't want anybody to have to take care of me.
Well, you said you weren't afraid to die. What, on the flip side, what kind of inspired you to live, and maybe what gets you, what inspires you now to live life to the fullest?
Well, of course, my faith in God. But that didn't happen until much later in through the process. But the mere fact that I'm an 8th child of 10, and the only one who finished high school and went on to college and, did all those educational things that I was supposed to do, and being responsible for all of those people, including my family, I think the biggest aspect for me was I would only allow people to see me when I looked good. Again, it goes back to the vanity. But it actually helped people to help my family to not worry so much. They knew I was ill, but they wouldn't see me at my worst point. And that was the thing that kept me alive, because I wanted them to see that God, it wasn't about the healing aspect of it. It was more of the spiritual quest that even though the symptoms are there, God will still give you the tools that are necessary to get through your toughest times. And I guess for me, it did not bother me whether my remission was on earth or in my transition, if that makes any sense in a earthly aspect of thinking. God has spoken to me on 86th Street and 8th Avenue when I was walking up. I walked probably 90 New York blocks on the day that I was told that I had 3 to 6 months to live. And the voice said, walk as I walk and talk as I talk, and everything's going to be okay. I believe that at that moment, whatever the end result was going to be, I was going to be okay, based upon the words that God has spoken to me.
Now, I've heard you in some other interviews refer to yourself sometimes as a gangster for God. What does that mean to you?
No, it was a coin. Someone coined that phrase about me because the type of music that I do, it's faith-based, but it's more of just real pure honesty. I talk about the drugs. I talk about the women running. I talk about a lot of real stories that I have personally done. And oftentimes within the Christian faith and all these other faiths or denominations, they want to shield and or hide those various things that they've done to make it seem as though they woke up that morning and God cleansed all of this so they never have to talk about it again. But I believe in being very honest, being very upfront, and that's why they said that's he's a gangster for Jesus, because or gangster for God, because I'm just honest. And I personally would do almost anything for God. I won't go and do a terrorist act or anything like that. But I'm a firm believer that God exists. I'm a firm believer that He is a healer. I'm a firm believer that if you do the work, He will do the rest. So that's what the gangster for God is.
Well, related to that, you go in and you play in a lot of clubs, and you go where a lot of people that maybe play, or artists that maybe play faith-based or Christian music may not tend to go. Why is this something that you do?
Well, one of the things that I've realized over the years is that oftentimes when we're on a spiritual quest, we forget to forgive. We forget to forgive that, or we forget that we've been through certain situations that has brought us thus far. And so my purpose is not to condemn. My purpose is for people to see that there is a change that happens in your life, but it does not alienate others from you, or you should not alienate yourself. And in addition to that, it's very rare that gospel stations or Christian stations will play my music because, again, I talk about a lot of things that they don't feel that you should speak about, you know. And I feel comfortable with it. I just do. I feel comfortable singing in nightclubs and talking to people who aren't, you know, going to church on a Sunday and living an entire different life on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so I think for me, it's imperative that, you know, people see the change in me, and the change that not the art form, but the healing form of what inspirational music can do for you.
You wear a lot of hats in the music industry, and what are some of the things that you're doing right now? Give our listeners a little snapshot of the happenings for you.
Well, right now for me, over I guess 10 years now, of course I practice law and my PhD is in business. So there's a huge need within the entertainment business that talent needs to hire a company that not only understands their current job, but trying to figure out what their transitional income and transitional life, et cetera, needs to play a part. You know, and so what we've created is essentially a one-stop shop from legal to non-for-profit to X, Y, and Z, and to probably future planning. And we're looked at as the business and legal affairs for the talent. And I think that oftentimes talent across the board do not see them as a fully functioning corporation. They look at themselves as a basketball player or a singer or a songwriter. And so with all of those hats, from being an attorney, being a songwriter, being a publishing entity, being a management entity, whatever it is, we've kind of like meshed those together, and not as a one-size-fits-all, but as a business and legal entity that could assist the talent into reaching and bridging all of their talent together, but in a sense, having us as the nucleus for all of your needs, your 90-day plans, your 180-day plans, whatever it is that you want to ascertain, and assist in kind of like putting what's most important to the least important things. But from day one, when you're signed here, looking at transitional things to do, transitional income, meeting those goals that, like, you know, I had one client, he desired to be a clown, and this is a true story. And we put that in the package. He did the clown stuff for a few weeks. He didn't like it, but, you know, we made sure that he was able to fulfill that dream.
So he wanted to be an actual clown with makeup and a big nose, or he wanted to make dumb choices?
No, he wanted to be a clown with the makeup and the big nose and the floppy shoes and all of those different things. I mean, that was something that he wanted to do. And he did it for 3 weeks, even though he kept his real job, but he did it for a few weeks, and he saw that he didn't really enjoy it, but, you know, that was a part of his goal. And so we made sure that he fulfilled his goal, I guess.
You know, Tracy has a great story. He has overcome incredible odds and is doing some great things in the world of music, entertainment, sports, and business. In order to be successful in all of those endeavors and to handle what life throws at you, it's important that you develop some strong character skills. We wrote a book entitled The Leadership Playbook, Become Your Team's Most Valuable Leader. Being a great leader in the locker room or the boardroom requires you to have a good handle on some strong character skills. The Leadership Playbook is packed full of practical insights and stories to help students understand what it's like and what it means to be a positive teammate. Frederick Douglass once said that it's easier to build strong children than it is to repair broken men. You see, when we help develop today's students, we also can help influence the future. So please visit theleadershipplaybook.com to learn more about this impactful book. And now back to more insights from Tracy Randall.
Well, to get to where you are right now professionally, you've made some choices along the way, or you've done a lot of different things throughout the years. Kind of walk us through your career professionally and what led you to where you are right now.
You know, I always tell people that there's nothing special and or unique about me. It was just the fact that I hate to sound like this, but I was at the right place at the right time, and I knew how to capitalize off of the right place and right time. Again, I go back to childhood. I'm the 8th child of 10, the only one who finished college, and finished high school and went on to college. I was 16 years old when I entered undergraduate school, and I finished my bachelor's when I was 19 years old. And I didn't know what else to do with myself. No one would hire me because I was 19. I couldn't even get a sales job because the insurance would cost too much if I worked for an insurance company, all of it, because they would have to provide you with a vehicle. So I took the LSAT that June, and UCLA let me in. And that was history. But the career path, I wanted to be an engineer from the onset, and the professor put an angstrom on the board, and he put a huge A, and then the formula went all the way across the board, and tears fell down my eyes. You know, this is not what I want to do. So I immediately went to my advisor and changed my degree to business, and I didn't realize that was going to be the beginning of the foundation of what was next to come. I was just blessed and fortunate again to meet the right people, having the education and having somewhat of a talent. Again, I do not look at myself as the best singer, songwriter, producer, the greatest attorney. I don't look at any of those things, but what I do know is that I'm disciplined. There was a time when I worked 90 hours a week. I don't do that anymore. I actually work 18 hours a week now. But there was a time where I was working the 90 hours a week because not that I was not a great attorney or a great writer, but I knew that I had to put in the hours to say, hey, I'm putting my stamp on what I really want to do and how I'm going to do it. And if in the event it was something that was challenging, I knew that discipline would overcome the lack thereof. And a lot of people assume that I was just some genius, or no, that's not true. While people were sleeping, I was practicing. You know, when people were taking trips and all of other things, I was reading. And then after I read, I would apply. In each instance that I faced a dilemma or there was something, I was able to pull from all of those different things that I've studied. Even now, I will read about 60 books a year. And people laugh at that you don't get tired of reading. No, I don't. Because I can walk into any arena and have a conversation, even if I've never been there ever in my life. I can relate to stories and build upon things, and people are like, okay, wow, he's well read. I can really have an appreciation for who he is, and the fact that he's disciplined enough to, you know, be able to have some type of dialogue with me. So I would say that it's discipline. It doesn't have anything to do with the talent, though it does, but it doesn't in a sense.
Did I hear you right? You said you work about 18 hours a week?
Yes, I work.
Okay, so
I work Monday.
We have a lot of intense people listening to this, a lot of type A personalities, a lot of people that work tons of hours. So their wives right now, or their spouse, I should say, are interested in how they can get their spouse to not work so many hours. Maybe not 18, but maybe cut down that 90 to 80. What advice would you have?
Well, first is the staff. But again, I go back to initially, I did the work. I did the 90 hours a week so that I could say, hey, look, for the next 40 or 50 years of my life, I have a choice to only work 18 hours a week because I've done the work. I have been able to put together a strong financial package for myself, and I stuck to that package. I don't have credit cards at all. No credit cards at all. If I can't pay for it out of an account that has the cash in there, I don't get it. If anything exceeds the budget that we put together for the family, we don't get it. And people say, oh, you have the money. It's really not about having. It's about ensuring that you stick to your budget, you stick to your plan. But again, I did the 90 hours a week, and I realized that once you're dead and gone, those people who use you for that long length of time are going to find someone else to kill, if that makes any sense. So whatever I can't do within that 18 hours, I push it over to the next week.
So what days do you work? You started to, I think you started to say what days you work or what your schedule is like.
Oh, Monday from 1 to 6. Wednesday from 1 to 6. And Friday from 1 to 6. Now, it depends on what days I'm going to use those additional 2 hours on.
So that's office hours. That wouldn't count like being on your phone or if you're traveling somewhere.
Yeah, that's office hours for me. And 9 times out of 10, unless it's a dire emergency, I don't return any emails. I turn off the cell phone that I normally do work from. I turn them all off. I have one assistant that she can get in touch with me 24/7, and it better be life or death.
Good. That's that's interesting. You shocked me because with all the stuff you got going on, I never would have thought that. So because one of the other things that I didn't even mention the intro was you represent some sports, some professional athletes. Talk a little bit about your agency or what you do with representing professional athletes.
Yeah, we're not an agency. We do the management side of things. A lot of times, the agent allows a lot of things to slip through the cracks for the talent again. And we just found a niche that, again, they have athletes have a huge desire to be in the music industry, entertainment industry. They want to be rappers. They want to own their own label. There's a lot of things, but the agent never accommodate those things because they only are concerned about the collective bargaining agreement. We only talk when we either need to renegotiate or there's an issue with the team. That's the only time an agent is called up. Like with an attorney, most of the time the attorney is needed in the beginning of negotiations, and you put the contract somewhere and it stays there. And if there is a breach there, then the attorney steps back in. But other than that, the attorney isn't needed, doing those points of it. So what we've done for the athlete is we're the management crux of them. Again, different ideas that they have, non-for-profits, all these other things, booking them, public speaking engagements, all of those different things from PR, the entire gambit. We are the team of people who assist them with their merchandising deals, introducing them to the right people to get to the next phase with regards to film and TV. We're the go-to guys. And again, back to the 18 hours a week, I have an incredible staff. When I say that they've been with me since the onset of 2000, they trusted when I did not even have an official office. We were working out of a restaurant. So it goes back to that. The team loves me. They know for health reasons I should not be doing just a lot of things, and most of the time I'm just approving things now. So that's where we are.
Well, when you went about putting your team together, when you either when you didn't have an office, didn't have much, early stages, or even now, when you look at your team, what are some things that you try to keep in mind or try to do to build the best team?
Well, for me, it's giving them a part of what you have. When someone has an invested interest in your company, they're going to treat it, like it's theirs. My first assistant, who is now a VP, when we first started, I said, "Hey, you stay here. I'm going to give you a piece of the pie. Even though I'm still paying you a salary, I'm going to give you a piece of the pie because I want you to feel like it is your own." And she was like, "Oh, whatever. Okay, Jay. And then I gave her a piece of the pie, and now, she's running things. She's she's my go-to. So yeah.
She's working. She's working 90 hours a week now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, you had mentioned earlier that you read about 60 books a year. What are some of the books you're reading right now, or that you've read recently?
Well, there's a book called Slave. Well, of course, I know you know that I'm black, so by now, I read a lot of books, not just from a historical standpoint, but how it affects people, not just the person who endured it, but the people around you. And you could utilize a lot of things with regards to this book, Slave, because it has nothing to do, really, in my mindset, it had nothing to do with black or white. It has everything to do with imprisonment of the mind, the mindset of how abuse and all these other things affected this young lady's life, even after she was removed from the situation. And she's very successful now as a book writer. She's as an author. But the thing that intrigued me the most is the fact that she doesn't hug anybody. Something like that. I found that to be painful to me. I don't know. That's hard to go through a childhood that caused you that much pain, and in your adult life, you can't hug someone without a fear of being hurt again, or the fear of, I can't even explain it. But could you imagine not being able to hug someone?
What's the name of this lady that wrote the book? Do you remember?
Mende Nazir.
Okay. Excellent.
Mende Nazir.
Okay. I want to make sure we get that in the show notes so that people can check that out as well. I love to read, so I always love to see what other people are reading. And my wife doesn't like that.
Oh, I read a lot of...
That I keep filling up our bookshelf and everything, especially around the holidays.
Yeah, and there's a lot of... You read a lot of self-help? I know you're a coach, so I'm quite sure you read a lot of self-help stuff. So
yeah, I read a lot of biographies, autobiographies, self-help books.
There was a CEO, I can't remember her name, but she said something to the effect that a real leader should read a minimum of 50 books a year. I can't remember who said that, but she said a real leader should read at least 50 books a year, whether it's 10 pages, 20 pages, whatever the amount of the page is. He or she should at least read 50 books a year annually.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case. And we actually had a guest on our show named Lolly Daskell. And Lolly has over 1 million Twitter followers. But one of the things she does is she reads a book a day. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh my.
Yeah, it's crazy. And she was in episode 44. But one of the things she said was she's read a number of books on quantum physics. And I'm like, why in the world would you read a book on quantum physics? Because you're an executive coach. You're this person that writes for Forbes every day. And she goes, because when I'm in a room and I'm talking to someone that's interested in quantum physics, I want to be able to add to the conversation or at least understand where they're coming from. And that was something you said earlier, too, was that you like to read a lot of things so that you can get common ground with people. So, yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on.
Quantum physics.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm ready to go that far with wanting to connect with people, but for right now, my connecting, I thought, was that I read a soccer book once. That was outside my comfort zone because I wasn't much of a soccer fan, but I read a great soccer book about how to coach women, and I was a basketball coach coaching women, and so I thought I would read it, and it was one of the best books ever, and it changed my life, the way I coached. It was called Catch Them Being Good. And but I'm not ready to go the quantum physics route, I don't think.
No. But you know, another thing too, everything is based upon mathematics too. It's about numbers, even quantitative and qualitative research. All of these things is just dealing with numbers. So I can kind of understand where she's coming from, but that would be a dry read for me.
It might be, and I'm waiting for that day when I meet somebody that's really into quantum physics and I miss out on a deal or we don't make a connection because, I don't know anything about it, and I'll be kicking myself. If only I had listened to the advice of Lolly Daskell when she was on my show. But, hey, Tracy, where can people connect with you or learn more about what you got going on?
I have a website. My personal website is www.IamTracyRandall.com. Of course, www.randallslawfirmpc.com. Twitter, I am Tracy Randall. Instagram, I am Tracy Randall. YouTube, I am Tracy Randall. I guess Facebook, I am Tracy Randall. The crazy part about it is I had to force myself to get into the social media kit. Because my publicist was like, oh, you need to be more active. You need to, and now I'm hooked on it. That's scary.
Which one do you like the best? Probably YouTube, because you're putting out a lot of music content.
Yeah, YouTube, and my personal Facebook page. I have a humorous side, and people, like, wow, he jokes a lot, which I do. I enjoy telling jokes, and they're corny, but I tell a lot of jokes. I'll make fun of a lot of things, but I also like to talk about, I guess, social events, policy and political stuff. But I kind of keep it light. I just have fun. I share stories, keep it light. And it's really cool to interact with people on there, so it's pretty cool.
Well, excellent. We will be sure to put those in the show notes so people can check you out. And I definitely recommend anybody check out Tracy's music. He's got a lot of videos you can watch and a lot of singles that he's put out there and a lot of music content. And yes, his social media, definitely check that out, the Twitter, the Instagram, the Facebook, and we'll put those notes as well. Tracy, I know you're really busy. Well, actually, you're not really that busy. You only work 18 hours a week, so you're really a slacker, I think. No, I know you're really busy. You got a lot going on. So we do appreciate your time and your insights today. So thanks a lot, Tracy.
Thank you, my brother.
Tracy Randall has some good things to say and is living life to its fullest. Be sure to check out the show notes to get connected with him and to see his social media feeds. Thanks so much for tuning into the show today. Remember that you can get a free audiobook download and 30-day trial membership by visiting audibletrial.com/successisachoice. Also, if you haven't already done so, please take just a quick second to hit that little subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. Thanks so much, and until next time, remember that success is a choice. What choice will you make today?